Okay, everybody, here we are. It's that time again where we get together on the Mastermind Real Geeks Mastermind Facebook page, and we talk about different things in order to help you grow your business. And of course, we focus a lot about around the Real Geeks platform because this is something that we all have in common. So before we get started today on the conversation around monetizing a lead funnel through simple nurturing strategies. Let me first say hi to my friend Abe. Hey, Abe,
Hey,
appreciate you
Greg.
appreciate you joining me again, and continuing the conversation. It looks like we're going to talk about funnels. So let's dive right into it. And first off, I think I don't know that people really understand what a lead funnel means. And for those of you listening, forgive us if you're one of those that really do. But I started thinking about it, and lead funnel is not a conversation that's talked a lot about in the real estate industry, but it's definitely talked about in the industry or in any industry revolving around marketing. They talk about lead generation in the marketing world. They're going to put out some advertisements. They're going to capture some leads, get them into the funnel, and then they talk about different things that they do with these leads while they're in the funnel. So, Abe, what would be your just a general description of a funnel? How would you define that in your mind? And I'm sure there's many definitions, but what is yours?
Yeah, man, there's two words that I like to use. They're interchangeable. One is a pipeline and one is a funnel. So to me, a funnel is just the entire process. Whether you're a buyer, the entire process from when you're in the dreaming stage all the way until you're ready to purchase, all the way until closing. If you're a seller, the same exact thing as you're thinking about moving, all the way from the beginning, just the thought, all the way up until closing. So the funnel is, if you can kind of just envision just a big funnel, wide up top, really narrow at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then what your whole objective is to try to get as many people in there as possible. Right. So you want to process or go through as many people as possible. And the way you do that is generating leads and then having conversations. And then little by little, people will start to go through the funnel as they get warmer and warmer or closer to when they're ready to transact. And then at the bottom of that funnel is when they're ready to transact. That's kind of like my
Yeah.
my perception and my view of what a funnel is.
It's kind of like an incubation system or a filter. These are other ways that people can describe it, is where, at the top, there's this big, hole that you put as many people in there. And then based on all the ways that you might nurture the top of the funnel, the middle of the bottom of the funnel, the quality keeps kind of sifting through all those different scenarios and all the things that you're doing. And then at the bottom, like the highest quality leads, the people that are willing and able to do something right now kind of fall out the bottom. And that bottom of the funnel is really where your conversion is. The top of the funnel is where your capture is. And then in between capture and conversion, there's quite a different things that need to be done. So think of the top of the funnel being where you capture them, the bottom of the funnel where you convert them. Well, I feel like there's a lot of leaky funnels. There's a lot of holes in people's funnels. Like they come into the captured portion, and as they're starting to fall down and get closer and closer to the bottom, a lot of times they seem to fall out of the funnel. And I think that's where we talk about the conversation around ignoring people, or if you ignore them, if you don't pay them attention, if we neglect them, if we assume that they're not going to do anything, therefore we don't nurture them, then they end up finding themselves in someone else's top of funnel. So what'll happen is we'll have a lead be at the top of the funnel. We captured them, but they're not being nurtured, so they get kind of stuck in the middle of the funnel. And then somehow somebody gets their attention through some kind of Facebook or online, type of promotion. And now they actually abandon our funnel through the side, and they find themselves in the top of somebody else's funnel. And then they keep doing this until somebody does a good job nurturing them in the funnel. And then all of a sudden they fall out the bottom and they go and now they're converted. So I think that's what happens a lot of times is that it goes back to, in the middle of the funnel, you'll have a lot of, you'll perceive that some of your leads are dead, but they're just not active with you. They actually have already fallen out of your funnel. They're in somebody else's funnel, paying attention to them. That's how I look at it.
That's a great visual, and that's exactly how it is. Yeah, I mean, you've got holes. So the less systematized you are, the less you follow up and keep up with your leads, the less you nurture them, the more holes you're going to have in your funnel. And that's exactly right. People are going to be just leaking out all over the place and going to other agents. That's got a great visual of that when you said that. That's a great point.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about let's monetizing the lead funnel. I think what we're wanting to share with you all about that is that's the conversion part. So there's an investment that we make. We either make an investment by buying leads. We make an investment by self-generating leads. Maybe you do an open house and you find a few leads and you put them at the top of your funnel now and put them in your CRM. Well, maybe you didn't invest money in that open house, but you did invest time in order to generate the leads. So whether you throw money at it or you throw your time, either way, the top of a funnel usually requires some sort of investment. And if we're going to make an investment, then we're looking for a return, and we call that monetizing. So when we convert at the bottom of the funnel, that means we're now monetizing that opportunity. So that's where today's conversation is, how to monetize a lead funnel through simple nurture strategies. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to start with that one?
Well, let me add one more thing. So the whole point of this conversation is a lot of agents out there, or most agents, just kind of look at their database just as a database, mm-hmm. right? But and what happens is they generate leads, and nowadays that's getting easier and easier to have stuff go on the top of the funnel, right? There's all kinds of lead sources out there for generating leads. So they do a fairly good job of getting leads, and then they do a fairly good job of converting the leads that are ready right now. What we don't do a good job at is everybody that's in the middle, which that keeps growing and growing and growing as you generate more leads, is doing a good job of nurturing them. So this whole conversation is about just looking at it as a funnel. Okay, looking at it, and then we wrote down 10 steps of what that whole process should look like, and figuring out, okay, well, how do I best nurture them? Okay, so then I get more people that come out the bottom of the funnel when they're ready, and less leakage going out.
Yeah.
So the first step is generating leads, right? You've got to put people in the top of the funnel, mm-hmm. and there's so many ways to do that. You can buy leads, like as Greg said. You can make outbound calls. You can. A lot of different ways. You can use lead sources, referral services, a lot of different ways to generate the lead. So it starts there. It starts with generating. You've got to be able to generate on a regular basis to constantly be putting people into the funnel.
Yeah. And there's no way you're going to monetize. You can't monetize. You can't convert zero. Yep. Like zero doesn't convert at a number greater than zero. So no leads in, no leads out. Mm-hmm. No leads in, no money out, right? So it starts with generating the lead. I like that one. The second one, though, is you got to connect with the lead. Now, I'm going to kind of go about this in two ways. If you've listened to Abe and I for a long time, we talk about one of the ratios that people have an issue with is they capture, but they never contact the people. So you gotta make sure that you contact or connect to all of your leads. But the second way I would think of connect is you actually want to make a connection. If you're going to be putting leads into your funnel, keep in mind they're in other people's funnel also. So how are you going to stand out? How are you going to sound different, look different, be thought of as different in the eyes of your lead? And the way that I would say you'll do that is you'll make a true connection. Now, how do you connect with a new lead? The best way to connect with a new lead is simple. Ask questions, listen, approve, and make suggestions. Like ask a question. Oh, I'm just kind of curious. Why are you even considering, what's having you consider Myrtle Beach as an area you would like to relocate? I asked the question. Now I'm going to listen. Well, I finally kind of semi-retired, still working for 2 years, but just part-time. And I'm now allowed to work remote. So we're just going to kind of take, we were planning on moving there when I retire, but now that I can work remote, I'm going to move there now. Okay. Now I'm listening. So I asked the question and I listened. If I didn't ask that question, I would have never got that answer. If I, and all this conversation would have been about, well, they need a 3-bedroom and they want to be in Myrtle Beach and they want a price range of 600,000. Like I would have got all those needs and wants, but I had never understood like why they were actually doing this. So when I ask the question and I listen, and then I'm going to approve. Oh, fantastic. So, okay, well, good. That sounds like a great idea. Go ahead and get yourself positioned down here 2 years before you're completely retired. Now I approved. Okay, I kind of gave them an approval. And then I can then make a suggestion, or I could ask them another question. When I do that, I'm taking the time to get to know them, and I'm getting the time to understand what they're really looking to accomplish. I'm connecting with them. I'm building rapport. That's a great way to then put them in the top of my funnel. So that's when I say connect with a lead, it's not only make sure you talk to all of them, but when you get as much value out of that first conversation as you can. Build as much rapport so you'll be more likely to monetize them at the bottom of the funnel later on.
Yeah, and this is one area where there's a lot of leakage, right? If we go back to the leaking part of the funnel, you miss the opportunity. They're talking to multiple agents in many cases, right? They're on different websites talking to multiple people. How are you going to connect with them? Why are they going to choose you as a professional? And like you said, this is the one section, the one part that you've got an opportunity to really connect with people and find out what their motivation is and why it is they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
All right. So the third step is once you connect with them is you've got to figure out what their timeline is, right? Not your timeline, right? We all want leads to come in. We want to get a phone number, name a phone number, and we want to call them, and then we want them to say, yes, I'm ready right now. Well, that's not how the world is, right? So your job is to ask the right questions, connect with them, as we said in number 2, find out their motivation when they're looking to purchase or sell, okay? And be able to help them along the path until they are ready. So your job here is to really get some information and dig deep, try to find out where they are in the buying or selling cycle, and be okay with no matter where they are.
Yeah. Now, I'll take this one from here. So, Abe, if you find out where they are, usually you're at a fork in the road. Okay. And then you ask a question, and maybe you could just say, I'm just kind of curious, what is your time frame? When ideally, in a perfect scenario, when would you like to have be in your new home? Okay, so that would be a question you could ask to identify what their timeline is. Now you're at a fork in the road when you ask that question, because you don't know, are they going to answer left? Are they going to answer now? Or are they going to answer like outside of 6 months? Who knows what they're going to answer? That's why we need to ask the question. Remember, ask the question, then listen. Okay, because what they say may determine where they're going to now be when in your nurture program. If they say, well, we'd like to get something as soon as possible, obviously set the appointment right then and there. Put them in your A list, where your rules for anyone in the A list may be you talk to them once a week minimum. Or they may say, well, we're 6 months out. Okay, fine. Well, then put them in your B list. Maybe that's, 6 months is somebody you consider your B list. And then also always tag them as a time frame, and make sure that you put them into your calendar as a future activity. That is so critical. The longer term leads still need an appointment. Think of this. Every lead you will set an appointment on. Sometimes the appointment will be, you're going to go meet them tomorrow. Sometimes the appointment's going to be, I'm going to call them back in 3 months. And you can tell them, you could say, hey, look, it looks like you're, still a little bit of ways out. So obviously the properties that are on the market now will be sold by the time you, by the time you're going to be down here looking at properties. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set a reminder that in around 30 days, I'm just going to have it in my calendar to give you a call. Is this usually a good time to reach you, around 10 a.m. or is the afternoons better? Well, yeah, the morning's good. Okay, well, I'm going to go go ahead and set a reminder for me to give you a call in around 30 days, around this time in the morning. And in the meantime, I'm going to send you this, I'm going to send you that. Keep looking at the alerts and call me or text me if you need anything. By the way, what is your best cell number? I'm going to text you my contact information so you can keep it in your phone. Then they give me, and they give me their best cell number. Now I save them as a contact. I'm asking them to save me as a contact. You see how I'm doing this is we're putting people in the funnel, but we're learning a lot about them as we enter them into our funnel. This is going to pay huge dividends later on when it comes to monetizing these leads, because I'm not going to forget them, because I'm going to show up. They're going to show up in my calendar.
That's a great point. I've actually never thought of it that way. Every person you talk to, every time you set an appointment.
Every
I always
person,
think of an appointment. Yeah, I always thought of an appointment as a listing appointment or actually going to show a property. But if a follow-up call is an appointment.
Yes,
that's a great point. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Okay, so
and for those, it's like penciling you in versus pinning you in, right? It's like penciling you in.
Absolutely. So that was 4 steps. That's all there is to it. It's 4 steps to build a funnel and fill it up. Okay, so now we're going to dive into, okay, so now what do you do to actually monetize the funnel, right? So now you've generating leads, you're contacting them, you're finding out where they are the buying cycle, and you're setting up some sort of nurture or follow-up. Next step is going to be, okay, well, now every single day, okay, you're going to check your funnels and reach out to people. So within Real Geeks, you're going to look at your dashboards. Okay, who's favorited properties? Okay, who's looking at market reports? Anybody request any information on the property? Anybody schedule a virtual showing or showing? So every single day you're going into the funnel to look for opportunities for people to move the ball further down the line to the bottom of the funnel. And you do that. That's step number 5. So every single day you need to check that funnel.
Yeah. Part of that, Abe, I call lead identification. I think Real Geeks has done a good job by building lead identification systems where we see people's activities, we can see their movement, so we can identify when they're becoming more active. And we want to we need to kind of act on those cues, because those are the people that are most likely going to convert as they start favoriting properties, or if they refine their search and you see that their search criteria keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. That tells me they're getting close to the bottom of the funnel. They're starting to figure out what they really want. That's a cue. That's an identification tool that Real Geeks has built in that we need to leverage a little bit more. The next one here is, we got to sift through our pipeline daily. Sift through it daily. I think one of the ways to sift through it daily is like, look at your live feed. When in first thing in the morning, look at the live feed. Let's just see who logged in, who actually clicked on something in the live feed. And every single day you should have a few hours set aside to kind of react or respond, reach out to the people that had done some of those things. Maybe it's not like they've done as much as refining their search. Maybe you just see that they opened up one of your emails. Little things like that. Every day, if you'll communicate to people who are semi-active, you're going to catch people. So like, let's just say, for instance, here's how it works. You put somebody at the top of the funnel. You follow the strategies for building rapport. They're at the top of the funnel. Now, all of a sudden you start to see, oh man, they seem to be clicking on some things. Okay. Now they're falling down a little bit deeper into the funnel. Now they've refined their search. They changed their search criteria, and now they're choosing to only search one area in a more specific price range. That person now is further down the funnel. The challenge is we're all in the stands watching the show, when what we're supposed to be doing is we should be on the court playing the game with them. When they're moving, we should make our moves. Instead of like, when they're making moves, we'll just observe and wait for them to call us. That's how they fall out of your funnel. All right.
That's how they leak out.
Yep.
All right. So now you've got, that's a good one there. So you've got the frequency of how active they are. right? If it's a seller and all of a sudden they went from looking at a market report once every 6 months and now they're looking at it every 3 days, that shows you they're getting warmer and warmer, right? So that's what you're talking about. Then you've got the rest of your funnel, right? So it's easy to kind of filter out the ones that are getting warmer and warmer, but then you've got a bunch of people in your database that just aren't doing anything. There's no activity. Okay, so on a regular basis, you need to reach out to these people and just kind of check in. Okay, so that's when you want to use automation. That's when the workflows kick in, right? So you've got people in your database that may not be doing anything right now or may not be active on your website, but they're somewhere else looking and becoming new leads to someone else. So you want to make sure you stay in contact with people in your database at least once a quarter. Here's an opportunity to kick off a workflow just to kind of gauge their temperature and see where they are, if they're thinking of doing anything. And you're going to get some people, even though they haven't been active on your site, you're going to realize if they're ready to do something or are getting ready to do something. And then those are people that you find you connect with and then move them further down in your funnel.
Yeah. You mentioned workflows there. And, if you've got your leads, I mean, listen, most of the people in your database is kind of your funnel. Now, the challenge is that a lot of times when we think of funnel, we think that everybody, if somebody's truly in our funnel, then we're able to see some sort of movement, some sort of activity. Well, the challenge is I think that everyone's really in your funnel. If they're in your Real Geeks database, they're in your funnel. The key is they could be non-active people in your funnel. So another way to use your workflows is to create a re-engagement plan, workflow, or use the re-engagement workflow that's within the Real Geeks library and kick off a workflow to all the people that are not showing any activity and now get them re-engaged. So you have people that we have people that we perceive are dead, but they're still in our CRM, which is our funnel. Well, if they're truly dead, then we need them out of the funnel, but we don't know if they're dead. So use the workflow tool as a strategy to re-engage them. Then you'll see, are they at the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, or the bottom of the funnel? We have more people in our funnel than we even can imagine. We just got to re-engage with them.
Absolutely. Next thing is you just repeat. you do what we just talked about, but you do it every single day, right? Day in and day out. That's the next step.
We both have a friend named Shane, Shane and Lori, and Shane. My kids for years just absolutely will leave my house, run down the neighborhood to go to Shane's house to get chocolate chip cookies. When they hear he's cooking cookies, they just they abandon everything they're doing and they run to his house. And the reality is all he does is follow the same recipe every time. He just repeats it. He doesn't change a thing. In my house, I'm trying to create this great cookie. Tatiana's trying to create this good cookie. Everyone's trying to figure out, or my wife's trying to buy the cookies from Crumble. We're changing all the time. And it seems like the kids, they're not too into it, but it's the same thing, following the same recipe every time, over time, that allows you to monetize this funnel. It's the same thing. Just repeat. If it's working, work it. If it's working, work it. And then, some people, Abe, will say, well, gosh, my database is too large. Well, that's a good problem to have, but that's not an excuse to not touch everybody. So, my guidance to you would be either figure out how to touch and do what we said to your entire database, figure out how to hire a virtual assistant and figure out some things that they can do with your database. Maybe you need to hire an ISA. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just giving you options. These would be the steps. Number one, default to you doing it. Number two, default to maybe a virtual assistant helping you, because that would be a less expensive option. Number three, default to hiring a staff member that you can treat to be kind of like an ISA to help you. But you have to do something, because doing something in this area will provide way more income than buying more leads and building a bigger database that you're not going to be able to nurture. We're losing too much money by building a database when we could make more money by just nurturing it.
This is the one area, Greg, that, coming from retail into real estate, just still boggles my mind when agents tell me they're too busy to reach out to their leads, too busy to reach out to their database. The whole reason that you're busy is because of leads, right? It's because of leads, because you connected with them, and because you found out and nurture them and find out when they're ready. It's like being in retail and say, okay, I'm too busy to restock my shelves, right?
Mm.
At some point, if you're that busy, you're selling products off the shelves. If you don't restock those shelves, guess what? You're going to go from busy to nothing, to dead. And it's the same thing in real estate. If you start neglecting your database, you don't make the time to call leads on a daily basis, what's going to happen is you're going to ride that roller coaster that all agents complain about. They get really, really busy, and then there's nothing. And they're sitting there for a month and a half, and there's no pendings, no listings, no paychecks, right? So no matter what you do, you have to keep feeding that fire, and you've got to do this on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. One of the challenges before we get off is, I think you and I talk this a lot about this a lot. One of the reasons why lead companies are making so much money is we buy a lead, goes into the top of our funnel. We fail to nurture it properly, and it leaks out the side. And then that person leaks out the side. They're kind of like in space. They go onto Facebook and somebody says, hey, look at these great listings. They put in their information to look at those great listings. Now they're in the top of somebody else's funnel. Somebody bought the lead again to get them in the top of their funnel. Then they weren't nurtured. Then that lead seeps out their funnel, falls out their funnel, eventually sees something on TV, goes to like a Zillow, and then puts their information in. Some agent paid Zillow money for that lead. Now that lead's at the top of somebody else's funnel. There's a reason why, like, if you were to Google, and I have not done this, but I know that it's hundreds of millions. If you were to Google all the number of leads that these third-party lead companies say that they generate, like a Zillow may say that they generate 50 million leads in a year. Realtor.com, I don't know what they say, but maybe they're saying 20 million leads in a year. And then all these companies have a number of how many leads that they've actually generated. But they're still only between 5.5 to 6 million sales. I think if we took the total number of leads generated, all of the Real Geeks websites, all of the Zillow, all of the Trulias, all the Realtor.coms, all the brands that have websites, and you took the total number of leads that entered into an agent's top of their funnel, it would be more than the population of our country. And the reason why that's the case is because so many people are double, triple, quadruple counted because they get into one person's funnel, leak out the side, goes into another person's funnel. Now there's 2 leads, leaks out the side, goes into another person's funnel. There's 4 leads, leaks out, or 3 leads. And that keeps happening over and over. And every time it goes to the top of the funnel, it's counted again. So and the reason why I'm saying this is for this reason alone. That's an indication of how poor people are managing their funnels. There's too much leakage. Focus on that.
I'm going to give you an example, Greg, and I hate when this happens to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you in the past, maybe not as much, but like I'd have a lead that I've spoken to. It could be a circle prospecting lead, it could be an expired or whatever. They go on my database, and for some reason or another, I neglect them. All of a sudden, a year later, I get them as a brand new lead from HomeLight or somewhere else, and now I've got and I look them up, I'm like, damn, this guy's in my database. And now I've got to pay 30% referral fee out of someone that's been in my database because I missed it. Yep. So that's what you're referring to. These leads are everywhere. They're in multiple systems, multiple databases, and they're just being recycled over and over.
That happened to me today.
Did it really?
Literally today. It happened to me today. I'm like, what? And, you know, so this is a real opportunity, right? Like we all need to be looking at this as the glass is half full. This is truly a wonderful opportunity for all of us to increase our revenue without having to add additional expense. We just need to put in a little bit more focus and attention on our database right now.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, that's a wrap. I appreciate it. Great conversation. I hope everyone got some information from this. If you have any comments, you'll put it in the chat. You know, Abe and I a lot of times can't comment. It's hard for us to comment while we're talking and going through the discussions, but we'd love to look back. And if there's any questions, we'll do our best to answer it. So Abe, thank you so much.
Enjoyed it, Greg. Thank you all for watching.